Hi everyone!
Hi!
So we're in Sofia, we're doing our video for Sofia. So first we are in sort of a small park, but behind us, that building there in brick, that's the actual St. Sofia Church, which is why what the city was named after. But more famously, there's the Alexander Vesjiv, something like that. We'll talk about it more later. But sort of the bigger church, the more famous church.
It's the more lavish and prettier church.
They only use the best materials and all that.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're going to talk about sort of all our experience of Sofia. So we were here for quite a while.
For about a week.
For about a week.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we started off with a wine tasting tour. I think that was the first day we were here.
Yeah, it was. And we were really excited to try Bulgarian wine because it's got quite a good reputation, I'd say.
I don't know. I've only heard from Bulgarians. They'll say like that the wine was born here.
We're
that
really
like, the
famous
first grapes
for our
are here.
wine.
Yeah. I guess on the good side, so it was a small group. It was Jen and I and two other ladies, one from Japan and one from Palestine. They weren't very chatty though. They kind of kept themselves to themselves, which is fine. And then there was the host. I forget, Alex?
I think his name was Alex.
Yeah. And he kind of like introduced himself and he talked a lot. Well, that's a bad point, so maybe not say that now. But he sort of like, he was very knowledgeable, I think, and he like explained things really thoroughly. But I guess we wanted to taste a bit more than we wanted to talk.
Yeah, I felt sometimes things were explained a little too thoroughly, like he would explain it over and over and over again when you got it the first time.
I kind of liked that there was a map of Bulgaria though, and he would like point out, okay, so this wine comes from this region.
I liked that too. That was a plus. So I know like the better tasting, like fuller tasting wine comes from the southern part of Bulgaria, and the southern and eastern part, and the kind of more bland stuff comes from the northern and western part. But they have the same grapes for some of them, but they taste very differently, yet they don't.
So yeah, when you make a wine, it says the grape and then the region, just so because it will taste different based on the region. So yeah, that was sort of the wine tasting. We were we were disappointed by it, just because the portions were really small.
Put like a few drops in each glass, and then
like maybe 2 sips worth.
Maybe, yeah.
Like he had a little measuring thing, so most of the time it was fair. Like we each got the same, but it was really, really a small amount. And yeah, and he didn't. Like afterwards, I asked Jen, like, is it just me or did he talk to me a lot of the time? Because I felt he was focusing on me, and it was just a little bit awkward. So I was like looking away from sometimes, just to like hoping he would talk to other people. But yeah, Jen was like, no, he was fully just explaining things to you, and then eventually, like, occasionally looking away.
But luckily, while he shared his love of storytelling to you, because he was standing right next to me, he shared his bad breath with me the entire time. I got to experience that. It didn't complement the wine, and it didn't really complement the cheese.
Oh, right, there was cheese as well. So we had a couple. He was more generous with the cheeses.
We had 3. Did we? No, we had 2 cheeses.
2 cheeses and 2 different meats.
1 different meat.
2. I thought it was 2.
No, 1 that was pork and beef.
Oh yeah.
It was a sausage. But the thing was, 1 cheese was beef. 1 was cow's milk. Sorry. And 1 was it sheep?
I think it was sheep.
And they were both, well, the cow's one was less bland, but the sheep's one was very, very mild.
Yeah, it was not like you can really taste a lot of it.
And I would kind of expect with like a wine and cheese tasting that you'd be like, ooh, this cheese pairs really well with this wine, and this cheese pairs really well with this wine. We just got the cheese right at the beginning, and then like our little dribbles of wine. So we just kind of like munched throughout the wine tasting.
And there were 6 different kinds of wine, so that was okay. Like it was a variety. But 3 red, 3 white. But yeah, just the portions were very small. And especially it was not a free tasting. Like if it was a free tasting, I'd be like, okay, but it was not free. Like we paid for it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really understand that. But
although one of the wines, I was kind of happy it was a really small portion because it was not that good. But yeah, I think he means well. He's obviously very passionate about wine and Bulgaria, so that was good, but it wasn't quite what we were expecting. Yeah.
And then the day after, we did the walking tour of Sofia. So this is where we had a lot of information, and I whittled it down to 5 things.
5 fun facts.
5 fun facts. The first one is that they have a holiday for the Cyrillic alphabet. So they claim that the Cyrillic alphabet was born here in Bulgaria, and so May 24th, it's a national holiday. So yeah, it's like any national holiday. People don't go to work or anything, and it's the Cyrillic alphabet day.
And I also feel like several countries claim that the Cyrillic alphabet was born there.
But then, like, when we talked about it, I think some of them claimed that they reformed it, they like made it their own. So I don't know.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Serbia said that they started. I don't know.
Oh right, and then Jen's favorite fact was
Oh, okay. So the thing I really liked about this tour guide, and I mentioned it a little bit in yesterday's. Oh no, I don't think I did mention it in yesterday's video. Never mind. Was that both of our guides were the same company, but the way that they would tell us like the fun information about each building and stuff wasn't like in 1865 blah 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 blah, and then I tune out and I stop listening because I'm not a history person. They actually told like stories that were kind of interesting, so I actually remember a lot of the tour, which was nice. But we went by, it wasn't the oldest church in Sofia, but there was something significant about it. That was the dates part, and that part's gone. But basically, the thing that was really special about that church was the king at the time, King Boris III. They kept trying to assassinate him. So one of the attempts was done at the church, but first they tried to assassinate him by shooting him, and one of his guards stepped in front and took the bullet. So he sadly died, but the king was still alive. So then they decided they would kill one of his generals so that he would have to go to the church for the memorial service. And then when he got into, like, when everyone was in the church, they were going to blow up the church, the dome of the church, so that everyone inside would die, including the king, because they wanted the king gone. And then, so they did that. They had this service for the general. They blew up the church. But I guess following Bulgarian tradition, Bulgarians tend to be quite late for things, and they like to procrastinate. So he was late for the funeral service and got there after it had been exploded. So he survived that assassination attempt as well. And as kind of like a fun kismet, twist of fate, serendipitous event, the reason he was late was because he was at the funeral service for the man who saved his life earlier. So they say that that man actually saved his life twice.
And actually, I just realized I forgot to mention that in the French video, was that the Boris III had another part of his life that was quite interesting that they mentioned, was that during World War II, like the German army was like north of Bulgaria, and they basically said, we want to pass through. Either you join us and you allow us to pass through, or you don't join us and we just invade.
We still pass through. Yeah.
So Boris III was like, okay, well, like if we have the choice, like,
Come on in.
Yeah, like, so they sort of joined those powers, but without any strong belief in any of what the sort of Germany was thinking at the time. And so when they joined the powers, Germany was putting a little bit of pressure to send the Jewish population of Bulgaria over to concentration camps and
to get rid of them, essentially.
Yes, exactly. But like there's a lot of Jewish sort of history in Sofia, at least, and I guess it was sort of a tolerant place, especially like in the Ottoman Empire. So yeah, there's a beautiful synagogue that we went through.
It was gorgeous.
And so yeah, so Boris was kind of like, well, we kind of like our Jewish population, like, and so the tour guide explained that he did what is a local tradition in Bulgaria, which is to procrastinate. So he'd be like, oh, okay, like, give us another month. Like, we're really working hard on it, but like, give us another month.
It's a little bit more complicated than we realize. Like, we just need a few more days, and then the Jewish population, he said, actually increased in Bulgaria during that time, whereas pretty much everywhere else it decreased.
But yeah, so Boris III.
Boris III for the win.
Oh right, the National Theater. So there's this stylized, I don't know what to call it, like a sculpture on top of the National Theater, like it's a relief.
There's sculptures kind of built into the facade of the building, and then because like you can see, I don't know if you can see the gold on the dome and everything, but they're they're really into making things pretty and flashy in that in the time, I guess, that these were being built. So they had, it wasn't the architect, because I think it was already built, but they had a designer, I think you said in the French one, come to put gold leafing on certain parts of the statues and the building and stuff, just to make it a bit flashier. And do you want to?
Sure. And then the tour guide explained it to, like, he got fired because he did something he was not supposed to. And can you find what he did to get himself fired? So we all like looked around at it and we couldn't really find it. And he's like, did he give us a hint? He was like, hint. I think he's basically give us.
Hint was like, look at the baby.
Yeah, hint. Look at the baby, and yeah, the baby is all in white except for the penis that's golden.
So yeah, he was fired because he was trying to be a comedian, and they didn't find it funny. But it is still gold because when they thought about, first of all, it's really, really high up. It's at like the top of the building, so they didn't know if they could get up there to clean it. But also, they were worried that by trying to scrape off the gold afterwards, they would damage the poor baby's penis. So it's still gold.
Yeah. Oh right, and then the next fact is about so I'll say it this time, Alexandra Nevsky Church, and it's inside. There's kind of like 2 thrones or really important chairs, because in Orthodox churches there's no seating.
Yeah.
It's not like there's no pews or anything, and so yeah, it was really evident that there's 2 places where people can sit down, and one of them I think is for the patriarch of the Bulgarian Orthodox faith, and one of them is for the king. But the king's throne was never used or has never been sat on, just because after his assassination attempt, he refused to go to church anymore. He's like, this is too dangerous. So he didn't go to church anymore. And his son, when he was made king, he was way too young to, I guess, do anything sort of important. So he actually was never used, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you want to say
the fun fact about his son? So obviously, King Boris did eventually pass away. I think they were eventually successful assassinating him. I don't think he died of, I can't remember how he died either. I think it was somewhat suspicious though. So his son obviously took over, and his son is the only person in the world who has been king of a country and also prime minister of a country. So I guess when he was really young, he was king, and then
during communist time,
they kind of forced him out, and he wasn't really king anymore, and he left, and he exiled, and he lived somewhere for a really long time, and then he came back a while ago,
in the 90s.
Yeah, and was like, okay, I want to take over, like, I want to be ruler of this country again. And they're like, well, no, that's not how it works. You left, like, we don't really have kings anymore, so too bad. So he actually, and it was like right before an election, he ran for prime minister, and he had just enough time to gain support and actually won. So he was prime minister of the country as well as being a king when he was a little boy.
Yeah, and that was sort of like the facts that like we liked the most. Yeah. The same day we had a pub crawl. Should I explain what a pub crawl is? It's great.
What? Why?
I don't know. Explain it in French.
Oh.
Yeah. Just in case you don't know what a pub crawl is, it's when you go, like you're with a group and you go from one pub to another. If it's with a company, you usually get a free drink with it.
Yeah. Like a welcome drink at each bar.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, we thought, so in the description it said, like, usually when we have big groups, we'll just do our usual round, but if it's a slow day and there's not a lot of people, we'll go to sort of more local pubs, and we'll, and
it'll be quiet, more intimate, more chance for conversation, and yeah,
which is more what we're into rather than like dancing and boom choo boom choo. But yeah, there was, I still want to say a dozen people. Like there was between 12 and 15.
I think it was close to 20 because we had 2 people, like 2 guys.
True,
right?
there were 2 guys with us.
So yeah, it was the day before New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it was the 30th.
The 30th, yeah.
So right, it was a Sunday.
And it was a Sunday. We picked Sunday because we're like, okay, Sunday will be quiet.
Like it's not a weekend.
Yeah.
People.
It's not like attached to a big holiday. People won't be wanting to go out drinking right before New Year.
And actually, like, even I was surprised about how many tourists there are in Sofia. because during the visit, like they have 3 tours a day. The free tours, they have 3 of them a day, and at the one we went to, there was
40 plus people.
yeah, they needed 2 tour guides.
Yeah.
And so there was just a big crowd, and I just didn't realize it was such a tourist city.
No, I think everyone that we talked to basically said like flights to Sofia were cheap, and like food and drinks and accommodation and stuff here are also cheap. So it was a kind of a cheap place to spend the holiday. So,
yeah, that's true. When we asked them, like, okay, so how did you pick
what
Sofia?
brought you here?
They're like, the flight was cheap. We just looked at cheap flights, and this is how we got here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, the pub crawl wasn't our favorite. So we went to 5. Well, we were supposed to go to 5 different. We ended up only going to 4.
But the last one was like a dance.
The 5th one was supposed to be a dance club, and the 4th one that we went to, in my opinion, is supposed to be a dance club. I think it maybe just wasn't as busy. Like there were dance floors,
yeah, I guess.
and they were playing like hip hop the whole time, which is not really
terrible hip hop.
our jam.
Like it wasn't good hip hop. Like I think good hip hop I could tolerate, but this one was just like when you say the lyrics, you're like, this is terrible.
But I think if you're someone that likes hip hop, you probably would have enjoyed that part. Yeah, so we decided it was about midnight, I think, because we were going to go to the next one for 1. So I think we left about 12:30. We gave it a shot. We had our shot, and then decided
not our
we're
jam.
just gonna call it a night. So we didn't make it to the last one, but we did the first 3. I wouldn't necessarily call any of them what I would call a pub.
Yeah, no.
I would say all of them were definitely bars, and then the last one I think was more of a club. It was like 2 stories. So the bottom part was maybe the bar, and then the top part was the like dance club part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't call any of them a typical pub. They were all quite loud.
I think if you're a person who likes pub crawls and like hip hop music, and I think it would be good. It was just I was expecting something more sort of like chill and local, hoping that there would be not a lot of people. But I'm not saying that it was a bad pub crawl.
No, it was good. It was well organized. The 2 people that were showing us around were really friendly, really like informative. They kind of took the time in each bar to stop and talk to like different people on the tour. When we were walking from place to place, they would kind of pick someone else to talk to. It's not like they stayed with one person. Like I would recommend
or themselves. To be honest, like I'm just
exactly.
Like, oh, I'm Bulgarian.
So I would recommend the pub crawl to people that want to do it.
Yeah.
I think it just wasn't quite our speed.
Yeah. Fair. And then the next day we did things that were more our speed, I think, which is the board game club. So yeah, I don't know how we came up. I think, was it on the little booklet?
No, it was in the booklet. Yeah.
Okay. So something that both tours did, so the one in Plovdiv and the one here, is that at the end of the tour they give you like a little booklet of things to do where you are. So either in Plovdiv or in Sofia. And yeah, so we looked through it, and one of them was a board game cafe. So we're like, you know what? We have time. It's the 30th.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. Like, let's just relax a little bit. And so we went there, and we had quite a lot of fun. We played a unicorn game and a patchwork game.
Button-y quilting game.
Yeah, quilting, I think it was. But both were good. And especially because it's hard to find good 2-player games. And both were good, but it was quite a nerd fest in there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was really interesting. Like, I feel it would be a good social experiment, walking in and just observing the people coming in and out. Every single person in there, I shit you not, I kid you not, every single person in there was drinking an energy drink. Not the same kind, different kinds. All monsters, and every single person. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Why do you need an energy drink at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
But
Warhammer magic, it was strong.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then the little figurines that they paint, or like the scenes that they create.
Yeah, it was intense. So I felt, as people who are pretty big board game enthusiasts, we still stood out.
We were the cool people.
We were the cool people in there. No, I'm sure they think that they're the cool people in there. We were the out of sorts ones. Yeah. But it was really fun. We tried to go back on
the second. No, the first?
It must have been the first, and they were closed, sadly. So.
But yeah, so after the board game club, after the board game
That's
cafe,
what we do on Mondays.
we did a honey tasting. So we also found this other experience. So same place we found the wine experience.
Airbnb experiences.
Yeah. we did a honey one, and that one I like was just a lot more enjoyable. Like she was a lot friendlier.
She was.
And yeah, she asked us like, do you know about honey tasting? Because she's like, if you do, I'm gonna have to like cater to like.
Does anyone here keep bees? If you keep bees, I'm going to need to give you some different information.
Yeah, but like thankfully nobody did,
No.
because otherwise we'd be completely lost.
We were all novices.
Yeah, there was a couple from Boston, and then three ladies from Singapore, and then there was us two. The only thing that I didn't really appreciate was that we were really far apart from everyone, so it was very like cold and like.
It was harder to have a conversation with the people. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, but other than that, so there was I think 7 or 8 honeys to taste.
At least.
Yeah, and so she would sort of explain a little bit about the honey, but without giving too much away.
So then we could guess.
And then like she told us how to taste honey, and then she would pass it around, and then you would have your little wooden stick and put it in the honey. So I'd like really try to scoop it up as much as I could.
I mean, you were good at scooping.
And then yeah, so put it all over your tongue, like not just the tip. Like you need to put it all over your tongue so that you can get like if it's sour or bitter or, and yeah, and then then it'd be like, oh, what did you taste? But like I was not.
Honey was the answer almost every single time.
But she didn't like that.
No, she did not appreciate it. There was one, she's like, okay, you guys, you haven't gotten any right so far. Everyone gets this one. Everyone knows what this one is. So she's like, I'm telling you nothing. Here's the honey. What's in it? None of us got it. Not a one. It was lavender.
Oh, right, lavender.
We did not understand.
Jen got apricot though. She was like, oh, this one you should get. I don't even know if she said it was fruity.
No.
I think it was just to taste it. I couldn't taste anything. I was usually like for the first part, I was the first one to taste, and I was just looked at her blankly. Jen would be the second, and then she was like, yeah, it's peach or apricot, and then the lady was like really excited because finally we got one right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it ended up being apricot, and then there was one that was made of oak
tree sap.
Oak tree sap. 2 different actually from.
Yeah,
from
one was
thicker
thicker and one was thinner.
One was lavender. One was elderflower. One was
forget-me-not.
Forget-me-not. That's right. One was Lindell.
Yeah, Linden.
Linden.
And she was like, yeah, this one's Linden. Lots of people guess Linden. Linden very popular here. And I'm like, what? And like we're all kind of quiet and we're just like nodding along. All 7 of us are just like, okay. And then I think it was 2 honeys later, I was like, I'm really sorry, what is Linden? Because it came up in like the next 3 honeys, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And then it turned out nobody in our entire group knew what it was, so we had to like Google it onto our phones and like look it up. Still not overly sure what it is, but at least I wasn't the only one.
But she was really friendly about it.
She was,
not
yeah.
like, oh, God.
No. And I think like she's obviously had tours with better senses of taste than us, but she was still like a really good sport. Like she does everything in that business. Like she has like, a catering business. She has 4 kids. She has like her own bees that make the honey. She just opened like her own like little bakery. She does these honey tasting experiences. Like she's a pretty impressive lady.
And what was fun, so it was the honey tasting, but afterward, she was like, because I thought it was gonna be like the wine, like here's your taste, bye bye.
Yeah.
But afterwards, she gave us like a piece of bread, and she was like, okay, like put the bread with whatever honey you liked, and so yeah, it was up to us to be like, oh, actually, I want to try this one again or this one.
And then she brought out like four different Bulgarian cheeses, all of which I enjoyed more than the wine and cheese cheeses. Like they were much stronger cheeses. One of them was smoked, and she's like, now I really prefer the smoked one with one of the honeys. I don't remember which one. But she like gave us recommendations to try, and then she's like, ooh, and I don't think anyone's tried this. Try this. And like she would give us little like hints, which I thought was really neat. And then she was like, okay, so you get a glass of beer or a glass of wine. Which would you like? And then we're all like, and she's like, both? Okay. And then everyone got a glass of beer and a glass of wine, which was also really nice.
Yeah.
And then she also made us dessert.
Yeah, there was a dessert,
She
and
was so sweet.
like in the description there was none of that,
No.
but yeah, the dessert was like a pumpkin and cream and I guess honey.
Yeah, it was it wasn't the truffle honey, but it was one that wasn't the sweetest. It was like a saffron or curry. No, what was the one? It's local to Bulgaria and we didn't
Coriander.
know. Cardamom. One of the 2. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
But we really enjoyed it.
And yeah, so it was strange to have like sweet pumpkin, but it worked. It was good. I guess pumpkin pie is quite sweet.
Yeah.
But
It was like a sorbet almost.
yeah, it was quite highly enjoyable.
Yeah, so I also highly recommend the honey tasting. It was good.
And so the day after was New Year's Eve. Yeah, the day after
Yeah.
was New Year's Eve.
And
So-
it was our first day of having blue skies because it's been quite cold and snowy, and I mean today's actually a really, really nice day, so you're not getting the full picture. But New Year's Eve day was really pretty, so we decided to kind of do the walking tour again, but on our own, like without the guide, and take some nice pictures and just see everything in a not gray background.
Well, I forgot to mention that what they do, it's really cool. So this city is really old, and they have a whole lot of ruins from the Roman times. And it's completely open to the public. Like, it takes up a lot of space, but at some point we wanted to go from one street to another, and we had to go underground. And we just looked around, and yeah, there's like the eastern gate of the old Roman city. And yeah, there's just, you can just go. And it's free, and like I think a lot of people just use it on their commute to like go from one place to another. And so yeah, that was quite fun. So we took some pictures there. But mostly for New Year's Eve, we kind of had a quiet day. We didn't do anything special. And then for the evening, am I wrong?
Well, I mean, I thought it was special.
Yeah, it was special. But yeah, for New Year's Eve, we just got some cheeses, and we got some wines, and we got
and
some meats,
some more wine.
and some hot chocolate, and we just like had a quiet New Year's together. We were thinking of doing, like there was kind of like a stage set up and like fireworks, but it didn't, like, I guess we didn't feel like it at the time. So
I mean, it was cold.
true.
The band was probably Bulgarian.
Yeah.
It was outside.
It'd be sad if it was really famous Bulgarians and we just like, oh, that's a local band, cool.
Yeah, there was probably a lot of people there, so I was out.
And yeah, the day after, so January 1st, do you want to say anything more about New Year's
No.
Eve? January 1st, we thought it'd be great to go to the Rila Monastery. That was, I don't know where we heard about it.
I think we heard about it in
booklet.
the free walking tour first.
Okay.
And then on the pub crawl, one of the
Oh, that's
Spanish
right.
couple we talked to really recommended it.
So
and then we looked at some pictures and it looked beautiful.
So we tried to do that, but I looked up so there's only one bus a day, so that goes from Sofia to the Rila Monastery, and then they waits for you 2 hours and then takes you back, because it takes about 3 hours to get there. So we looked it up. The bus left at 10:20, so we're like, okay, we need to wake up a little bit earlier. We need to do this. We need to do that. And the bus station was called Ovla Klupek or something like that. And so I looked up where that was. Perfect. The bus number 11 took us there. So on January 1st, we
got
took
up
the
nice
bus.
and early.
Yeah, we took the bus to go to Ovla Klupek, and it was like, it was just strange to be on that bus because there was some smelly people. There was some guy that was still drinking his beer.
Yeah. A lot of people looked like they were just finishing their evening. I'd say.
And then we get to Ovla Klupek, and we just step out, and there's nothing.
There's no bus station there.
There's no bus station there or anything. So then I turn my data on, look up, and it's like, you need to specifically say bus station Ovla Klupek. Otherwise, I guess it's in the name of a neighborhood.
Or the line or something. So it's got more than one destination.
So by the time we got there, it was way too late. So we just stayed on the bus. And actually, there was something weird that happened on the bus. So these 4 kids come up, and the kids, like they don't look, like they have a bit of dirt on them. They don't have the best looking clothes. There's 4 of them, like I think 2 adults or 1 adult.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, so we had seen a kid with that before, is that they have these sticks
Covered in ribbons.
and actually one of the ribbons was made of an old crisp packet. I don't know if you saw that.
That's the one that he was hitting me with.
Yeah, and then I don't know if it's a tradition or what, but they sang a song and started hitting Jen's bag with it.
With the sticks, yeah.
With the sticks, 2 of them did.
Yeah.
And so we kind of like looked and like smiled, but I don't know if it's a tradition where like if they do that you need to give them like a little coin or something. So we just like looked, and I was hoping they'd do it to someone else so that we could see what would happen and what we were supposed to do, and then like do it late. But no, they just stopped there, and then so it was strange to have them there. And then they just got off at another stop, and So we're not sure who they were or what they were doing, but yeah. And then so for the rest of the day, since we didn't get to go to the monastery, we just kind of laid low. And it was January 1st, so a lot of things were closed anyway. So that's about it for January 1st.
And then yesterday we went to Plovdiv, which there's another video about, so you can watch that one. It's already uploaded on YouTube now.
And yeah, and today we wanted to go, so yesterday's video we said we'd go to the Relay Monastery today, but we thought the train was going to be at 10 or 11 at night, and turns out it's at 6:30, 6:20. 6:20. So we, and the bus comes back at 6:20, I think. So there was no way we'd make it. So yeah, instead we decided to make the video here when the sun was still out, and we're gonna get some soups, maybe drop by the board game cafe, but that's maybe. Yeah, we have 2 hours before we have to start heading back to the apartment. And yeah, otherwise that's about it for our stay here.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Heading back to Turkey.
Yeah, heading back to Turkey and then plane to Cappadocia.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess tomorrow. It's the night train.
Sleeping on the train too.
Yeah, which is fun. I get top bunk again. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.